So here we've got all three spring 2016 flagships from the major companies. That's of course the LG G6, the HTC U Ultra, and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Now, of course, this isn't an apples to apples comparison since the S8 Plus is the larger of the two new Samsung phones. The smaller S8 is going to be a little bit closer to the G6 size, but it's still really impressive to see the size differences between these phones. So the G6 has a 5.7-inch display, the HTC U Ultra has a 5.7-inch display with an additional secondary display on the top of that one, and the S8 Plus is a 6.2-inch display. So just looking at the backs of these phones, it's really crazy to see the differences in physical size versus the screen size. All right, so what's really super impressive to see is just the makeup of the ratio of the screen to the body size. So all three of the phones have the bottom of their screen aligned, and you can see the massive difference in the bezels here. The Galaxy S8 Plus has the smallest of the three in terms of bezels, whereas the HTC U Ultra definitely has the largest. And you can really see the difference between the size of the screen, and we'll just align the top of the HTC U Ultra's main screen versus the rest of the phone, so you have this extra display up here and all of that extra room really that it makes. So if we align straight with the middle of the phones, you can see that the 5.7-inch display plus that little 2.05-inch display on the HTC U Ultra is still a little bit larger than the Galaxy S8 Plus's 6.2-inch display. So massive win for Samsung here in terms of bezels and phone size. And even the G6, you look at the difference here between the phones, this is a 5.8-inch display versus a 5.2. So yeah, it's a smaller phone, but it really is amazing how much smaller the bezels really make the phone feel. This does not feel like most 6.2-inch phones would feel. So what's also worth noting here is just how different they feel in the hand. They're both pretty similar as far as material goes. These are all pretty much glass and metal phones. You got glass on the backs of all of them. You got metal on the sides of all of them. That goes for the G6 as well. There's really no difference there. The big difference here is in the width of the phone. So you'll notice that the Galaxy S8 Plus is much more narrow than the HTC U Ultra. And LG basically did the same thing here with the G6, where it's a lot more narrow than previous generation phones were. So it's definitely really impressive to see how similar these can be in terms of the screen ratio and all that. Samsung is definitely pushing a higher ratio here with the Galaxy S8, and that's going to be an 18.5:9 ratio, whereas LG went for a little more modest 18:9 ratio. Both of these are still pretty non-standard, so you're going to see either some stretching in apps until they're made to work correctly with that new aspect ratio, or you could just leave the bars on the top and bottom too, which we'll explore a little further in the S8's review, and we've already covered in the G6's review. It's pretty crazy to see here just how much more narrow the S8 is. It really is amazing when you put it on top of one of the other ones. It's a really big deal to feel that curve on the edge and really feel how that makes it much smaller in the hand. It really makes it a lot easier to hold than previous generation phones, that's for sure. And Samsung and LG are pretty much neck and neck here in terms of width. The S8 is just a tad wider than the G6, but of course, remember the S8 Plus's screen is about half an inch larger than the G6's, so it's pretty impressive to see. And the one here that's probably the most mind-blowing is the difference between the Google Pixel XL and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. So these are both the largest phones from either company that are out right now and the latest flagships for both companies. Yet the S8 Plus makes the Pixel look absolutely huge in comparison. Even though the S8 Plus is slightly taller than the Pixel, it's a little more narrow, and the difference in the screen size, that's 5.5 inches for the Pixel XL versus 6.2 inches for the Galaxy S8 Plus, is absolutely crazy. You'd practically think these are the same size screen if you just took a passing glance at them, yet Samsung has a significant advantage on screen size, and it feels like a much smaller phone in every way. It's a lot thinner, and in general, it's just a lot nicer feeling phone. We hope you enjoyed that quick size comparison and hands-on of the Galaxy S8 Plus. Stay tuned for a full review of the Galaxy S8 and the S8 Plus, as well as the full review for the HTC U Ultra. Be sure to check out the site for 24/7 Android-based news coverage, and thanks for watching. Until next time.